Air Autonomous, a virtual delivery service that needs virtual pilots. Virtually no point to it. While I hope there's a point to simulation, I want to get a better understanding of what is really needed by delivery drone services. Not just the aircraft, but the human-machine interfaces, integration into the manned flight world, and what impact the weather would really have on operations. All of these things can be tested in simulation. It struck me in the last 10 years, since founding SES News, that I've seen plenty of renderings of things that never come to be, so why not have a go myself? The first thing to know about Air Autonomous is that it uses technology that exists already. If you had deep enough pockets, you could go out and buy it all tomorrow. Nothing is made up or too far-fetched. You may already have seen that I really like the Aurora Flight Sciences Alias Aircrew Labour in-cockpit automation system. Yes, it's a co-pilot right now, but there's no reason it can't fly it all by itself. Sit it in a driver's seat of any aircraft, and in less than a month it has used cameras to watch and learn systems and procedures of whatever you have put it in. It could then be sent off into the wild in weather a man would rather avoid, or on soul-destroying back-and-forth flights between hubs with boxes. From that, it's obvious that I want to use converted manned aircraft for the bulk of the work. They already have been through the flight certification system, and plenty of mechanics know how to fix them, and parts can be found. If you leave the dual controls in, a pilot could even ride along to make a casualty evacuation feel a little more reassuring. To me, it's a no-brainer, and optionally piloted vehicles will be where the first true drone delivery boom starts. In fact, it already has, with the Cam K-Max. Let's not kid ourselves. Amazon's desire to deliver small packets, tiny distances, is just not going to work. For anything other than the most urgent medical supplies, there will be a minimum sensible size of payload. For the last few miles, and to fit into the SUS News remit, a sub-100 kilo platform that can lift 20 kilos will be conjured up. I've cheated a little to keep within the theme of the other aircraft with my choice, but I'm not going to compromise on the landing area. Let's unpack that a little first. Why do we need a landing area? Vertical takeoff and landing airframes are great and currently all the rage. Many of them, though, might as well be helicopters, as they really can't lift more or fly longer than an 800-sized conventionally configured model helicopter. VTOL adds complexity. I'd like to work from basics. Boxy, tail dragger, single-engined airframes are the world's workhorse, so let's start there. The de Havilland DH2 Beaver is available in several versions as a large-scale model. Put a fillet rouse cube autopilot into it and load Arduplane firmware, and all the basic commands we need are there. Autonomous takeoff and landing with terrain following, to name just but a few. Now, about that takeoff area, just about everywhere in the world you will find soccer pitches. They are in the order of 120 by 90 metres long, corner to corner. That's a 150 metre landing distance. Why do we need to reinvent the wheel? And of course you can come into them in multiple directions as well. That's the last perhaps 10 kilometres. So how are we going to get the cargo there in the first place? This is the bit that all these renderings seem to forget. So it's time to mention where I've been practice flying and thinking about this before trying to release it into the wild, and look for volunteers to help other virtual delivery drones and fly the routes. Lesotho. Now, Lesotho covers about 30,000 square kilometres, and its lowest point is about 4,500 feet high, making it the highest country in the world. More than 80% of it, in fact, is above 5,500 feet. Lesotho is also the southernmost landlocked country in the world and is entirely surrounded by South Africa. And to that point, if I look out of my office window, I can see Lesotho. It's not hard for me to visualise what it looks like. I've been fortunate enough to travel through, and it's a magical place. It's tremendously rugged and rough. There are many, many small airfields on cliff edges, served by people like Mission Aviation Fellowship. Just the sort of small airfield that if you do the slightest thing wrong, it will kill you. To journey to some of these locations by car or motorbike can take many, many hours. Most of them are less than an hour's flying time from where I sit right now. Now follows lots of made-up numbers, plucked from the sky, and this is the very point of the exercise. By trying to fly it in simulation, a group might come up with the best way of actually doing it or making the task happen. Instead of just hyping up a single technology, why not try and connect the dots with lots of existing bits? So in my Imaginarium, I've set a target of 20 kilos of cargo delivered to 100 sites in Lesotho at least twice a week. So that's a total of 16,000 kilos of cargo a month, if I've got my sums right. So without further ado, then let me present the Air Autonomous Fantasy Fleet. So first we're going to have to get our cargo into Lesotho in meaningful amounts. I'm going to keep the manufacturer the same for all the aircraft. That is going to make hiring mechanics, pilots and finding spares much easier. Added bonus, I've also flown in all of these types as a passenger in Africa. One thing that they all have in common is their short takeoff and landing performance. In this case, it's not just a nice to have, but it's a must have. Immediately I can think that one aircraft might stay as an OPV, an optionally piloted vehicle, as it could spend its time moving not only freight but staff as well into Lesotho from the major airports. There's 3 major airports in South Africa, Durban, Joburg and Cape Town, and that could be shuttling back and forth between those and the major airports in Lesotho, bringing staff and passengers. That aircraft is the Dash 7. That can carry 8,000 kilos, be that in the form of 50 people and their luggage or 8,000 kilos of freight. So that's where we'll start. We'll shuffle in gear with the Dash 7. So now we've got 8,000 kilos of cargo into Lesotho. Let's move that to the slightly bigger airfields using Buffalo. They can carry 6,000 kilos a trip. And I'm rounding these numbers out just to make it easier. So at 6,000 kilos a time, the Buffalo will move our cargo to the slightly larger airfields. And from there, we're going to have to break that out to the cliff-top airfields, the airfields that really are dangerous, are going to cause issues. And for that, let's use a Twin Otter. That's a lovely aeroplane, and they can move a nominal 2,000 kilos. From those cliff-top airfields, we need to move out to the football pitches that we've identified. Let's use large-scale models, basically beavers, and happily there's one already for X-Plane. So let's use that, and let's imagine that's moving 20 kilos at a time. And that's moving it to those football pitched forward operating bases. All in all, we're moving gear around between 100 points. Okay, so we're moving stuff around. We need to know where it is around those 100 drop-off points. Lesotho is pretty well served by VSAT's terminals for internet already, but let's use Google Loon. We've seen those fly by here a couple of times. And let's put, at that football pitch, let's put a shipping container with the Google Loon receiver, and let's have a Tesla Powerwall and solar panels on there to power that all as well. That would be absolutely splendid. So we haven't had to invent any technology to make that happen. So let's just unpack that fleet again. So let's have 1 Dash 7, 2 Buffalo, 4 Twin Otters, and 10 of those little beavers. And already I can see a problem that are going to need to do at least 800 flights a month to deliver 16,000 of kilos of cargo at 20 kilos a pop. That's just one problem I can instantly see, but that's the point of the simulation. Let's start and work towards the best solution. Oh, and by the way, if you have a solution for that last few kilometres that you're trying to sell or punt, and it's flown in the real world, and it's flown with the cargo that you claim it can lift, I'm more than happy to give that a try with our test pilots if you can provide an accurate X-Plane model for it. Why not put it into the cargo simulation and see if it really does work? You can become a thought experiment partner then, if you will. I'll put a link in the comments below to all the aircraft files that you'll need to fly an X-Plane 10.51 with Mission Planner and Arduplane driving the aircraft. Scheduling flights and tracking cargo, I have no idea again, but once again, this is the point of the experiment. So if I can tempt you, and if you'd be so kind as to fly for us, I'd really appreciate it. And it will help us understand what's really needed instead of just making stuff up. Please email me, gary@susnews.com, with your thoughts. And if you'd like to fly a virtual cargo for Air Autonomous, I will sort you out with what's required. Off the top of my head, let's count up the aeroplanes. We need at least 17 operators, if it's going to be one operator per aircraft. I'll put up a web page where I'll share my current thoughts as well. And if this does lead to something, there's no reason we can't replicate this simulation model in another part of the world. Like, subscribe, do whatever else you need to do on the Tube of the U, and don't forget to join us every Tuesday at 21 GMT for a general chat around nonsense. Hopefully, this cold I have will be gone soon. Thanks for watching.